I didn't just lose my marriage, I lost the life I thought I was going to have. Hey there, and welcome to Momma Drama and Trauma. I'm your host, Jenny Kimmel. And this episode, this one is different because this isn't just about grieving a relationship. This isn't just about grieving a marriage. This is about grieving the life you thought you were going to have. The life you believed in, the life you built, the life you thought was secure. Because when something like this happens, it's not just one thing that breaks. It's everything. It's your future. It's your identity. It's your sense of safety. It's the picture you had in your head of how your life was going to go. And for me, that realization didn't come slowly. It hit me immediately, like a punch to the face. And I didn't even have time to sit in the emotion of it because I went straight into survival mode. Because I had kids, I had responsibilities, I had a life that I suddenly didn't recognize anymore. And I think that's something a lot of people don't talk about, that sometimes grief doesn't look like falling apart right away. Sometimes it looks like getting up and figuring out how you're going to survive the day. So today, I want to take you back to the moment I realized that I wasn't just losing my marriage. I was losing the life I thought I'd have. The realization. I want to start this episode with the moment everything changed for me, because for me, it wasn't gradual. It wasn't something that came in waves at first. It hit me right away. Like, this isn't just my marriage ending. My entire life is about to change. And I knew that immediately. My first thought wasn't even emotional, which sounds terrible to say out loud, but it's the truth. My first thought was, how am I going to support me and my kids? That was the very first place my mind went. I remember one of the first things I said to him, and this was the night that everything just completely fell apart. I couldn't sleep. It was probably 2 a.m, maybe a little later. I had fallen asleep for a little bit, woke up, and I was just laying there staring at the ceiling. I got up to go to the bathroom, and when I came out, I saw his Apple Watch sitting on the counter charging. And I remember thinking, I could look at that right now. I knew his passcode. He knew mine. That was never something we hid from each other. But even in that moment, I hesitated. I remember thinking, no, don't do that. I had used his phone before, but I had never gone through it because I didn't trust him. That's just not something I did. But I laid back down in bed and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And finally I thought, you know what? I have every right to know what's going on. I'm married to this man. I deserve to know what my future looks like. So I went back into the bathroom, unlocked his watch, and started scrolling. And I swear it felt like something out of a movie, like when someone gets dizzy and everything starts spinning. That's how I felt reading those texts. I felt sick. I felt disgusted. I kept thinking, how could the man I trusted, the man I loved, be saying these things to another woman? Calling her sexy, telling her how hot she is, bringing her coffee in the mornings, inside jokes between them already. And I just kept thinking, who are you? But the thing that hit me the hardest, the thing that made my stomach drop, was reading that they were planning on living together in our camper. We had a nice camper, fireplace, recliners, bunk room, full bedroom, like you could live in it. And they had already found a place. They had paid for 6 months at a campsite so they could live there together. 6 months, and I had just found out about all of this 2 or 3 days before. I was completely dumbfounded. Like, you're already planning a life with her, and you haven't even told your spouse that your marriage is over? I saw red. I went straight into the bedroom and woke him up. It was probably around 3, maybe 3:30 at that point, and I remember saying, "What the hell is going on?" We argued. It wasn't calm, but it wasn't chaotic either. It was more like disbelief, like I couldn't even process what I had just read. And I remember saying to him, "You need to choose. Right now. You don't get time. You don't get to think about it. You don't get to figure it out later. You either want to be here with your family or you want to go be with her." And I remember exactly where I was standing when he said it. I was in our bathroom right by the shower, and he said, "I think I want to try something new." And in that moment, he chose her. And I remember saying, "That's fine. But if you leave to go be with her, you're not coming back here. It's done." I think I thought that would scare him, that he'd snap out of it. But he didn't. He tried to justify it, saying he wasn't happy, that our marriage wasn't good. And looking back now, okay, maybe we were in a rough place. My dad had just died 8 months before. I was not in a good place. But at the time, I thought we were in it together. I thought we were in this for life. And while he was trying to justify himself, I was trying to justify myself too. Like, why was I where I was? Why had things gotten so hard? But none of that mattered in that moment. What mattered was everything was changing. And then something happened that still feels so bizarre to me. After everything, after the fight, after the emotion, after hearing him say he was choosing her, we didn't go back to bed. He got ready for work, and I went downstairs with him, and I made his lunch. Like I always did, I made his sandwiches, got everything ready, just going through the motions, and then he left. And I was just there, wide awake, in shock. I remember I had been in the middle of redoing our half bathroom, painting, putting up wallpaper, redoing the cabinet, and I think I went in there and worked on that like nothing had just happened. And that's the part that's so hard to explain. It's like your entire world has been flipped upside down, but you're still living your normal life at the exact same time. And I remember looking at him differently after that, thinking, who are you? I don't even know you. You're not the person I thought you were. Or maybe you are, and I just never saw it. And that realization, that moment, standing in that bathroom, hearing those words, that was the moment I knew my life as I knew it was over. And I had to figure out how to survive what came next. The life you thought you were living. When I think about the life I thought I was living, it looked like a family. It looked like sticking together. It looked like making it through the good, the bad, the ugly, and figuring it out. That's what I believed we were doing. I believed we were always going to be a family, that no matter what we went through, we would come back to each other. We would work through it. We would find our way. That's what I believed. I did feel secure in my family. I felt secure in being a good mom. And I'll be honest, as a wife, I wasn't doing as well as I had in previous years. A lot of that had to do with not feeling appreciated, not feeling like he valued me. And when you don't feel valued, you start to pull back. You stop giving as much because it feels like it doesn't matter anyway. But even with that, I never thought we were on the verge of ending. Not even close. I just thought we were going through a hard time. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. When you're in a long marriage, especially raising kids, you go through seasons where you kind of lose each other a little bit. But for me, we had been there before. When we were raising 3 little kids, toddlers, babies, there were moments where we lost each other then too. But we always came back. We always found our way back to each other. And I truly believed we would again. I believed in us. I guess I believed in us more than he did. A typical day for me, especially when my husband was gone, was just keeping life together. Getting up in the morning, getting the kids off to school, making sure everything was handled with the business, running the house, doing all the chores, inside chores, outside chores, everything, vacuuming, cleaning, dishes, dinner, and outside, cutting the grass, weed eating, all of it. There was one day a week where I dedicated my whole day to outside work because I figured I'm here, the kids are at school, it needs to be done, so I'll do it. Then there were days for errands, grocery shopping, running around, getting everything we needed, days for the business, keeping everything organized, everything running behind the scenes, and then the nights and weekends, running to sports, sitting at games, supporting my boys, making sure they were where they needed to be, taking care of Maisie, and then waking up and doing it all over again. That was my life. And when my husband was home, it was similar, just easier, because he was there. If I needed help, he was there. We would do little things together, go to lunch, spend small moments together that made me feel like, okay, we're still here. We're still us. And those little moments, they mattered. They made me believe everything was okay. They made me believe we were just in a phase, that we'd come back to each other, because we always had. When I thought about our future, I didn't question it. I thought we were going to be together forever. I thought we were going to work through whatever we were going through. I was looking forward to the next chapter. When the kids graduated high school, we always talked about moving to our forever home. A few acres, a place to settle into, a place where our kids could always come back to, where their kids could come back to. A home filled with people, with family, with Sunday dinners and noise and life. That's what I pictured. I pictured my husband retiring around 55, us taking our RV and traveling, going wherever we wanted. Then coming back home, sitting on our porch, drinking sweet tea, sitting on our porch swing. That's what I thought we were building toward. I thought once the chaos of raising kids slowed down, we would find our way back to each other, that we would reconnect, that we would finally have time to just be us again and be happy together. That's what I believed. And in that life, my role was being a wife and a mom. It was never about just being me. It was always about being someone for someone else. And looking back now, I don't think that was healthy. I think I needed to be someone for me too. But at the time, that's how I saw myself. That's who I was. And I was proud of that life. I was proud of what we had built. We started with nothing, and we built something. We built a business, a successful business. We built a family. We worked hard. We saved our money. We didn't just spend it. We were building towards something. We were building toward a future where he could retire early and we could finally slow down and enjoy life together. That's what all of it was for. And we were so close. We were so close to that finish line. And then it was just gone, just like that. Everything we had worked for, everything we had built, gone. And yeah, looking back now, there were things I ignored, especially with myself, not taking care of myself, not seeing myself for who I was, not giving myself enough credit, thinking I wasn't enough, thinking I wasn't doing enough. And deep down, I think I knew there was more to me, that I was made for more than just being a wife and a mom. But those were the roles I had taken on. So that's where I stayed. And I truly believed everything was okay. I thought everything was moving along like it was supposed to. I thought it would get better. I kept waiting for it to get better, but it wasn't getting better. And that's the difference between living it and looking back on it. Because when I was living it, I believed in it. I believed in the life I thought I had. The dreams that hurt the most to lose. One of the things that broke me the most was something he said to me. He told me that his affair partner was his soulmate, and even now, that still sits with me. It doesn't consume me anymore. I don't dwell on it, but it's there. Because after 24 years together and everything we built, to hear that within weeks of him leaving, it just felt like, how dare you? His exact words were, I think this is a soulmate situation. And I remember exactly where we were. We were sitting on the back patio, talking about everything, the house, the kids, the divorce, what happens next. And when he said that, I swear, if a heart could physically break, that would have been the moment mine did. I don't even think I responded. I was just in disbelief. It hit me like a punch to the gut. And the only way I can describe it is, it felt like the life drained from my body with those words. Everything just dropped. I don't even know how to explain it, but I remember feeling worthless. Like, was I even ever important to you? Did I ever really matter? It made me question everything, our entire relationship, all 24 years. And I know in those moments, people say things. You're asking questions, you're trying to understand, and they're answering. And maybe he didn't even realize how much that would hurt me. But it did. That was the one thing that stuck with me. Out of everything that was said, that was the one that stayed. Because that wasn't just a comment. That was the moment where everything I believed about us shattered. And I think that's why when I look back now, the hardest dreams or expectations to let go of were my future. Honestly, I think grieving my future was harder than grieving actually losing my husband. I don't know how to make that make sense, but it's the truth. Grieving that we weren't going to be a family in the way I always believed we would be. That my kids weren't going to come home to both of their parents together. That we weren't going to have that life, that home, that feeling of all of us being one. That was hard. I really had to grieve the future I thought we were going to have. And when I picture that forever home now, it feels different. There's a sadness there because I know it's not going to be what I thought it was. But at the same time, there's something else there too. Now that forever home is going to be mine. I get to pick where it is. I get to pick everything about it. And that part, I'm excited about. I am happy about that, but there's still that lingering sadness that it's not going to look the way I thought it would. I still see it in my mind. The pictures changed a little bit, but I still see it. I still see myself sitting on the porch swing, maybe by myself, maybe with my kids, maybe with someone else someday, just sitting there, enjoying it. And what that home represented to me was family, love, everybody coming together, and I can still have that. It's just going to look different now. One of the moments where this really hit me was my kid's 16th birthday. That was a big one. It was about a month after everything happened. And I remember thinking at first, let's still celebrate together. Let's do this as a family. I thought that would help. I thought that would make it easier on the kids. But the truth is, it wouldn't have. It would have been awkward for everyone. Even the kids said it. When you guys are together, it just feels weird. And that broke my heart too, because that's not how it was supposed to feel. So we didn't do it. After he left, we never celebrated anything together again as a family. That birthday, it was hard. I remember putting on a happy face, decorating like I always did, doing everything I was supposed to do, making it special. But inside, I was sad. I didn't let them see that. I didn't want to take that away from them. It was their 16th birthday. It was supposed to be exciting, getting a car, celebrating, all of that. But I knew this is never going to be the same again. The house just felt different. It felt weird not having him there for something that big. It didn't feel good. It felt like everything was out of place, and the kids, they tried to act normal. They didn't let on that they were hurting. And I've said this before, but I truly believe they stayed strong in those moments because I was barely hanging on, and they saw it. Even though I tried to fake it, they knew. And I think in the beginning, I really did try to hold it all together. I thought, maybe we can still do things together. Maybe we can make this easier for them. But looking back now, I was trying to hold on to something that was already gone. I was trying to pretend it was okay when it wasn't. And the quiet losses, those were the ones I didn't expect. It wasn't always the big holidays because you almost prepare yourself for those. It was the little things, family photos, that first family photo session without him. It didn't feel right. It was just the four of us. And it hit me in a way I didn't expect. Or sitting at the kids' events and not sitting together, not celebrating our kids together, not sharing those moments, that was hard. Because when it comes to our kids, I truly believe we both want what's best for them. But we weren't experiencing those moments together anymore. Their accomplishments, their wins, their moments. We weren't sharing those, and that was sad. And the hardest part wasn't losing him. It was grieving the life I believed we were building together and coming to terms with the fact that it was never going to look that way again. The moment it all sank in. If I'm being honest, there wasn't one specific moment where it all hit me. Like, this is real, this is happening. I can't give you a time or a place because it didn't happen like that for me. It was slow. It was a process. It was me slowly coming to the realization of this is real. This is happening. If I had to pick a time where it maybe hit a little harder, It would probably be around Christmas when we were celebrating separately for the first time, when she was staying at his house when the kids weren't there. That's when it started to feel more real. But even then, it still wasn't one big moment. It was just little pieces of reality settling in over time. In the beginning, I was in survival mode. From the second I found out, I was in it, just trying to figure out, how am I going to support myself and my kids? What do I need to do? What's next? And I think that started to wear off around February or March. That's when things started to shift. That's when I started thinking, okay, this is my life now. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. That's when I started looking into real estate. February, thinking about it. March, signing up for classes. April, actually going to them. And at the same time, we were starting mediation, sitting across from someone I had spent 24 years of my life with, talking about dividing everything we built, splitting time with our kids. And I remember sitting there thinking, how did we get here? How did we lose the love we once had? It was just sad, and it was hard to process that this was really happening. And when it started to sink in more, it wasn't just one emotion. It was all of them. Sadness, anger, emptiness, fear. The fear had been there from the very beginning, from the moment he told me, because I kept thinking, I gave up so much. I gave up building a career for myself. I poured everything into our business, into our family. And now what? That fear never really left. And the emotions, they came in waves. I would be okay 1 minute, and the next minute I'd break down. Feel sad, feel off. Feel like I didn't even recognize my own life. And if I'm being honest, the moments it hit me the hardest were at night when I was alone. You can keep yourself busy during the day, running around, doing what needs to be done. But at night, when I would lay down in the bed we shared, in the room we shared, that's when it would hit. This is really my life. I would even fall asleep, wake up in the middle of the night, and for a second think, was that a nightmare? And then it would hit me again. No, this is real life, and he's gone. And what really made everything feel different wasn't even him being gone, because he had always been gone a lot for work, 6 to 7 months out of the year for most of our marriage. That wasn't new. What was new was my kids being gone too. That's when it really sank in, because no matter what, it had always been me and my kids. Always. And when they were gone, all 3 of them, for nights at a time or entire weekends, that's when I felt it. That's when the house felt different. Not loud, not chaotic, not full of boys wrestling, laughing, playing games, just quiet. And that quiet was heavy. That's when it really hit me. This is different. This is my life now. And the moments no one saw, those were the hardest ones. That's when I really broke down. I've always been that way. I don't like to fully fall apart in front of people. And yes, during this time, I broke down more in front of people than I ever have. But the real breakdowns, those deep, gut-wrenching sobs, the loud ones, the ones where you feel like you're going to break open, those happened when I was alone. So many times, more than I could ever count. I tried to hold it together for my kids, and for the most part, I did, but not always perfectly. There were times they heard me. I know they did. I tried to keep it quiet, but I couldn't always. And when they were gone, that's when I would just let it out because I had to. I had to release it. And those moments, they were loud, they were messy, and they were hard. There were times I didn't think I would ever come out of it. I didn't know how I was ever going to feel better or love life again. And the thoughts, those were constant. They just kept looping over and over again. How did I miss this? Why didn't I see it? How long had this been going on? How long had he felt this way? Why didn't I realize he wasn't happy? And the hardest one, why wasn't I enough? Why wasn't I enough for him? What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? And looking back now, I know it wasn't all on me. It was both of us. But at the time, I took it all on myself, like it was all my fault, like I should have seen it, like I should have fixed it. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think if I had to put it into one sentence, that was the moment I realized bad things happen to good people, and life isn't perfect, and it's not always going to go the way you expect it to. And now, when I think about this house, I'm grateful for it. It's been a good home. It holds so many memories. My kids love it here. They've spent years of their life here. But for me, I know I'm ready for a fresh start. Once they're done with high school, I'm ready to move on to something new, something that feels like mine, something that feels like a new beginning for me and my boys. What started to change in me? When I think about when things started to shift for me, not when I was healed, not when everything was okay, but just different. That would have been at the end of January. That's when I went with Dr. Christie up to Chicago to see Dr. Lamont. And I've talked about this before, but that experience, it changed something in me. I wouldn't say it healed me, but it was the beginning of my healing. It was something I needed. And I'm so thankful for Dr. Christie for inviting me. And I'm thankful for Dr. Lamont just for being who he is. We took a road trip to Chicago, and when we got there, it started like a normal chiropractic visit. Adjustments, getting my body aligned, but then it shifted into something deeper. He used these metal singing bowls and he placed one on my head. And when he tapped it, you didn't just hear it, you felt it. The vibration moved through your entire body, like it was moving things inside of you that had been stuck. After that, we went into the steam room, and that's where a lot of the release started happening. Sometimes it was quiet, sometimes we talked, just reflecting on life, on pain, on everything we had been carrying. And you're sitting in that heat sweating. But it didn't feel like just physical. It felt like I was sweating things out emotionally too. Things I didn't even realize I had been holding on to. At one point, he scrubbed our bodies with these leaves, and I don't even fully know what they were, but it felt intentional, like it was part of letting go, like shedding something. And then the part I will never forget. He poured ice cold water over us while we were still in that steam room, and it shocks your body, like it wakes everything up. But at the same time, it almost seals everything you just went through. It's hard to explain, but it felt like a full reset, physically and emotionally. It was one of the most intense mind-body experiences I've ever had. And later that night, we went to grab something to eat. I sat in the back seat and quietly cried as we drove through the city of Chicago. I just remember looking out at all the lights, and I sat back there quietly sobbing. At dinner, I didn't cry, but I didn't talk either. And then when we got back to the hotel, I just lost it. I couldn't stop crying. And I don't cry like that in front of people. I don't cry in front of anyone. If I cry, I want to be alone, but I couldn't control it. I was crying in front of Dr. Christie, which was nothing new at that point because I had cried a lot while she was working on my body in her office. It was like, as she was working, I felt really seen, and as she worked, I released everything I held onto for so long. But at this point in the hotel, I was also crying in front of someone I had just met. And that's not like me at all. And I didn't even care. It was like something had opened up inside of me and it all just came out. I felt like I was releasing so much. And I remember Dr. Christie telling me, take your shoes off, stand up, put your arms in the air, feel the ground beneath you, ground yourself. And that's what I did. The others went out that night, but I couldn't. There was no way. So I stayed back, took a long hot shower, cried, just kept releasing. It was a night I will never forget. The next day, before we left, we stopped to say goodbye to Dr. Lamont, and Dr. Christie had told Dr. Lamont what I had gone through the night before. And when we saw him, he walked up to me, put his hand on my arm, closed his eyes, and just stood there in silence for several minutes. And I closed my eyes too, and I could feel something. I don't even know how to explain it. It felt like he was praying over me or speaking something into me without words. And then he opened his eyes and said, "You're going to be okay, you're strong, and you're going to be okay." And that just sent me into another emotional release because I felt it. And I would say that's when things started to shift. That's when I started to find my footing again. Not fully, but it was the beginning. That's when my thoughts started to change. Instead of only thinking, why wasn't I enough? I started thinking, what am I going to do now? That's when I started thinking about real estate. That's when I started thinking about me. Not that I was fully there yet. I still thought about him. I still had moments where I hoped maybe he would wake up and come back, but I wasn't completely focused on that anymore. I started to shift some of that focus onto myself. I wouldn't say at that point I fully realized my worth. I didn't yet see that I deserved more. I didn't fully understand how much I had lost myself. But I did start to realize I need to find myself again. I need to figure out who I am. And there were moments where I started to see my strength again. Signing up for real estate classes, that was one of them. I remember thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I am. And even in mediation, standing up for myself, saying no, this is what I need. This is what the kids and I need. That was new for me. And I remember my attorney telling me, I wish all my clients would stand up for themselves like you do. And that meant something to me because I was starting to find my voice again. And I think during that time, I started letting go, not all at once, but slowly. I started letting go of needing answers, letting go of the relationship. even though there was still that small piece of hope that maybe he would come back, I was still starting to let go. And I also started to understand something I didn't before, that it wasn't all on me. At first, I took everything on myself, like it was all my fault. Then I shifted into blaming him for everything. And then slowly, I started to see it was both of us. That doesn't mean I agree with what he did, because I don't. But I started to see the bigger picture. One thing that took me longer to let go of was trying to control my kids' relationship with him. I wanted it to be okay. I wanted to fix it, but that wasn't up to me. And I didn't realize that then, but I do now. And I think one of the biggest things that started to change in me was how I showed up for my kids. I realized I can't live in bitterness. I can't live in anger, because I can't expect them to have a healthy relationship with their dad if I'm filled with hate toward him. I didn't want to become that person, and my kids, they were a big part of what pushed me forward. And I think I started to realize something else too, when it came to me and my ex-husband, that we were just two different people. And maybe we had been for a while. And even though I didn't fully know what I needed yet, I knew what I deserved. I deserved someone who saw me, someone who wanted me, someone who would choose me over and over again, someone who would fight for us and not walk away when things got hard. My person would have fought, and I started to realize I deserve someone who always chooses me. If you're listening to this and you've had a moment like that, where everything you thought was solid suddenly wasn't, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with how you handled it. Going into survival mode, thinking about your kids first, trying to hold things together even when everything was falling apart. That doesn't mean you were weak. That means you were doing the best you could in a moment that changed everything. Because sometimes that's what grief looks like in the beginning. It doesn't always look like falling apart. Sometimes it looks like surviving. And if that's where you are right now, I see you. I understand you, and you're not alone in it. And if this episode resonated with you in any way, I would really love it if you would follow or subscribe to the podcast. When you do that, it helps more people find these conversations and helps reach someone else who might need to hear they're not alone. You can also share this episode with someone who might need it, or connect with me on my website or social media. As always, you are strong, you are worthy, and your story matters. Until next time, take care of you.